Oh no, we have another Austrian news report that I personally have to translate for you. How inconvenient. Here we go. Today in Austria, the Austrian police have gave up any semblance of respect or care for the average person, as they harass random citizens walking by, demanding that they show their identification, government compliance papers, and medical records immediately, or face the full physical might of these violent men carrying weapons. Here's one of these top-notch douche nozzles explaining his cowardice and selfish behavior. Hi there. Just give me a little bit of money and I'll hurt whoever you want. Grandma will get it too. Thinking is not a problem for me. This is great. We get to pretend like I'm my grandfather, like he was in the 1930s. Papers, please. There's such a great historical context to this. Now, the police eye man also says that oppressing people is a lot easier for him than working a real job that might actually help people in society, rather than, of course, hurl them towards a despotic Orwellian nightmare that they're helping create with their absolutely ridiculously low IQ. These are jackboot thugs who will carry out whatever egregious order the government tells them to do, as explained by this person, saying that she hopes that the food at the gulag is going to be somewhat decent. Now, to be frank with you, I haven't spoken German in a long time, so that might not be the best translation of this Austrian news report. But for me, it checks out. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Gradowski here of WeAreChange.org. We have a lot of very important news to get into, especially coming out of Oklahoma, where surprisingly there is a major move being made right now against the Biden administration and his decrees and mandates, along, of course, with some also interesting news coming from Austria, which highlights that maybe not all hope is lost. We're going to be getting into that, plus a lot more. But before we do, we're getting news reports right now coming in that haven't been independently verified that MSNBC has been kicked out of the Kyle court proceedings that are going right now in Wisconsin for allegedly following the jurors home, which is a huge form of intimidation, especially with the absolute ridiculousness that MSNBC has been spewing throughout this entire court proceeding. If this is true, this is going to be major, as of course the United States and a lot of people in the world are waiting for the verdict to come in surrounding this very important court trial that a lot of people are heavily politically invested in. This, as recently we found out that the Covington kid that successfully sued CNN and won a very handsome reward after being lied about by them, is also coming out and saying that Kyle should sue a large portion of the corporate media for defamation to hold the media accountable for the clear lies that they have been telling throughout this entire case. In a totally unrelated firearms incident, today we are also finding out from a second person on the set of the Rust movie that Alec Baldwin, quote, allegedly, intentionally fired a gun in a situation and in a scene that did not call for him to do so, as of course he violated, according to many people, many health and safety rules during the shooting of his movie that was called Rust. Why are we finding out about this so many days after the incident? What else happened here? What else don't we know about? Well, there's still a lot of unanswered questions about this entire incident that, of course, raises some serious concerns. In other serious concerns that I have in totally unrelated news, today we are finding out that President Biden's pick for the OCC head is a Soviet-educated, self-proclaimed Marxist that has a history of shoplifting. And hey, if you're stealing from stores, you might as well steal from the American people, as of course a lot of people have serious concerns about her Marxist ties, as even U.S. Senator John Kennedy asked Biden's nominee, Sauli Amarova, that he didn't know whether to call her a professor or a comrade, as Sauli Amarova previously called for the elimination of all private bank accounts, to eliminate all deposits into private bank accounts and to replace them with accounts at the U.S. Federal Reserve, which would, of course, track, trace, and database every transaction you have and have complete centralization of the financial world. All, of course, in efforts to make the world more, quote, equitable. And, seeing Marxists trying to team up with the Federal Reserve, absolutely makes sense when you understand history, and my goodness, there couldn't be more of an awful idea in my own personal opinion. And with the way society has been going, with the way that the federal government has been egregiously making moves, it could be possible. And that's why people who have signed up to LukeUncensored.com a long time ago under the sponsor lounge or have listened to our independent media broadcast throughout the years must be very excited and happy, since of course they probably listened to some of our alternatives to the US dollar many, many years ago, which probably helped them out tremendously. Again, I talk about a lot of different stuff centered at helping the most amount of people that I can through LukeUncensored.com. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? And now you not only get our Apocalypse Survival training videos, but also Change Media University, all available to you on our own platform, our own educational, thought-provoking content that is only available to LukeUncensored.com members. And I hope to see some of you guys there later on today for our second video that we will be exclusively releasing for you later on today. You want to see that, plus a lot more, click the link down in the description below to find out more. Now, as our speech becomes more limited by the day, as our rights become eviscerated with every new restriction, new rule, new decree, or even in some instances, rare instances, laws, all in the name of keeping us safe, while of course we become less safer by the day, as even reported by the Telegraph, that is talking about excess mortality that has nothing to do with the sickness that is going around, as reported in the United Kingdom. That's happening right now. We were promised by Dr. Fauci, if we just give up our rights, give up our liberties, give up our lives, our jobs, our way of life, that we would be safe, that we would be healthy. We're not. We're the exact opposite of that. As of course, these were the same words by a man that was in charge of conducting absolutely cruel experimentation on animals, when of course he wasn't doing very dangerous gain-of-function research that, according to many medical professionals, was not done in the name of science at all. But this latest story of Dr. Fauci financing with the National Institute of Health maximum pain experiments on monkeys is absolutely horrific to even read or describe to you, which for the sake of the viewing audience we will not be doing in this video. But I am left with just two words after reading this article, and that is that this man is cruel and evil with the things that he has called for and done to this world, which of course have the full support of the corporate media that usually does his bidding, runs cover for him, and acts like they're his private PR agency. As perfectly exemplified by the attacks on individuals like Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, that gets attacked for what we know now is truth, while of course Dr. Fauci gets unquestioned by it and gets to get away with yet another egregious flip-flop, as he previously told us that a procedure that we all needed to take was 100% safe and effective. Now he's telling us how a third procedure along with that is going to be, quote, the new standard. Dr. Fauci also made statements talking about how individual rights are not something to him that supersedes the safety of society. This, of course, being the argument by many tyrants and despots throughout human history, as, of course, this line has been heard all throughout human history when it comes to some of the worst atrocities that we have heard of. And again, getting rid of individual rights for the safety of society, or even an interpretation of that, is just as a delusional thought as it is a dangerous one. As of course it was Dr. Fauci that promoted the lockdowns, which now, even surprisingly, the World Health Organization has come out against, as during an official World Health Organization video live Q&A session urged caution against imposing new lockdowns on the people who have not taken this procedure. Yes, we're coming to a point where even the World Health Organization is calling for less restrictions, less rules, less mandates, as of course planned to be implemented by the Biden administration on this country, and as already implemented in places like Austria that we have started the video off with, the representation of these lockdowns. Lockdowns specifically on the people who have not complied, who have not taken this procedure. The World Health Organization is telling countries not to do this because of human rights issues. And I never thought I would see this by the World Health Organization, but that has been their official statement today, as even organizations like Human Rights Watch are coming out and declaring that human rights have diminished in response of policies implemented by the animal torturer Dr. Fauci. We have seen that to the most extreme effects in Austria, where, of course, the government is deliberately targeting and going after individuals, searching for them, hunting them down because they didn't comply with a procedure that they want them to take. There's a lockdown specifically on people who have not complied with the government in Austria. This is what we played in the beginning of this video. Today we are finding out that France, Italy, and Germany may soon be imposing very similar restrictions on their population, which of course will violate people's human rights. Because if you have someone who didn't comply, didn't get the right government permission slip paperwork to go to the supermarket, you're taking away that person's ability to live, to eat, to drink, all because you weren't able to successfully force an intrusive medical procedure that might not be right for them. And today we are finding out that there is some scuttlebutt, that there are some rumors of the Austrian police union rising up against this, as we're hearing that there are many in the police and army who are refusing to implement these discriminatory segregation policies in the name of freedom and human dignity, and that a large number of police officers and military men will be joining a large demonstration planned in Austria, in Vienna, this November 20th, coming up in just 2 days from now. Now, are these reports true? Will there be a large amount of civil disobedience by Austrian police and military not complying with the nonsense that globalists and state bureaucrats want them to impose on the people? Well, we're going to find out in just a few days, and of course we're going to be following that story very closely ourselves. Austria, even though imposing very strict mandates, lockdowns, and rules on its population that rob them of having a normal life or rob them of any economic opportunities, also today have seen record high cases of this sickness. And if you compare what Austria is doing compared to, of course, Sweden, that I would say has the almost exact opposite approach of what Austria is doing, and their numbers are a lot lower, you get a whole different perspective of what's actually going on here. As, of course, we keep hearing about stories after stories of people who have complied and, of course, still continue to get sick, like this story out of the Wall Street Journal that shows how even professional athletes who complied are getting sick, and many other places that have complied are dealing with some of the largest increases in cases. And again, there's been huge protests in also the Czech Republic that has implemented very similar policies to Austria. Vast numbers of individuals and people coming together and saying enough is enough. This is insane. This is draconian. And these protests are far more widespread, far more frequent, have far more people involved in them than you would know, because, again, the corporate media does not talk about them because it's bad for a lot of their corporate partners, especially in Big Pharma. That's an assertion that I'm personally making based on my own personal beliefs. But again, this non-compliance, these protests aren't just happening in Europe where we're seeing the biggest push. They're also happening in places like Oklahoma, where we're finding out today that the Oklahoma National Guard might soon become the Oklahoma State Militia, as of course they are not complying with federal mandates and soon may no longer maintain national recognition. Yes, this is a big story according to Pentagon sources. And in Oklahoma, the Attorney General there is not complying with federal mandates, and they are stopping the implementation of this procedure on their healthcare workers. Oklahoma State Police are also declining this procedure and this mandate along with the Oklahoma National Guard. As of course, there's a tense standoff happening now between the state of Oklahoma and the federal government. Who will win? Well, of course, this is a story that we're going to be following very closely. I have a lot more to say about this and a lot more. I'm going to be doing that on lukeuncensored.com. If you thought anything I said in this video was wrong or inaccurate, let me know why in the comment section below. I always appreciate your constructive criticism. I always appreciate you guys liking this video if you like it, disliking it when you disliked it, but we don't have that ability to do that anymore since I've seen it already gone on a lot of YouTube channels, which is absolutely ridiculous. Again, there's not a lot of people's voices, authentic people's voices here on YouTube. That slowly is being taken away. That's why, again, I'm trying to get as many people as I can to lukeuncensored.com. I hope to see some of you guys there. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.